Hello everybody, welcome to Awesome Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and drop a like on this video. I'm trying to hit 100k subscribers on this channel by the end of the year, so your subscription will be much appreciated. Also drop a like on this video, it only takes 1 second and makes a massive difference. Real quick, go check out my newest video over on my main channel talking about the Milwaukee Bucks and their chances of repeating as champions. But with that said, today's post-game recap is going to be exclusively the Bulls. Now, I would not typically like to do this, being that the season just started. However, as I have recently moved out, I wanted to watch this game with my dad, and I prioritize family over work. So as a result, the only Bulls game I will, or the only basketball game I will be talking about today is the Bulls versus Pistons game. And it's kind of unfortunate because Celtics and Knicks was obviously a great game, and Ja Morant had a crazy game versus the Cavaliers, and what was the other noteworthy thing? The Timberwolves, they played a really good game. Granted, it was against the Rockets, but worth mentioning. Oh, the other one as well, Pacers versus Hornets. Apparently LaMelo went the fuck off looking at this box score and hearing what people were saying on Twitter. He shot 7 for 9 for 3. I might end up watching some of these games tomorrow, especially the Celtics-Knicks one, because it was so good, but I have not watched it yet. So I'm just talking about Bulls versus Pistons, unfortunately. Anyways, with that said, let's get into it. This was a very concerning game for me. The Bulls only score 94 points. Luckily, the Pistons are just not very good offensively, so they only score 88. But the fact that the new-look Bulls barely beat the Pistons without Cade Cunningham is definitely a concern, especially being that the Pistons are a team that the Bulls last year would beat up on before they made the additions that they did. So what went so wrong in this game to where they barely ended up beating the team? Well, missing a lot of layups is the most obvious thing. Nikola Vucevic ends up going 7 for 21 in this game. I swear to God, he missed like 10 fucking layups and short like hook shots and push shots and floaters and like things that are like some like around the basket shots that are acceptable to miss. But it was just that he missed all of them. And then DeMar DeRozan, he ended up finishing the game with relatively good efficiency, 47% from the field, and went 1 for 1 from 3. He actually hit that 3 that he hit was a contested 3, and I was very surprised by that. But he missed a lot of layups himself. He probably missed like 4 or 5, and 2 of them were like inexcusable layups to miss. Vucevic had like 2 inexcusable layups to miss. Ayo Dosunmu also had a layup that he like definitely should have made, but because he's a rookie, I'm gonna give him a pass on that. But yeah, just a lot of missed layups in this one. And the other thing that stands out in terms of why this game went the way that it did, the rotations. I don't know what the fuck Billy Donovan is doing, but it's not good. He put out a rotation, a lineup out there of DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, Javonte Green, Alize Johnson. I believe it's pronounced Alize. It looks like Alize, but I've heard everyone say Alize. And Troy Brown Jr. So Alex Caruso is a good three-point shooter. That's fine. Javonte Green is not. Troy Brown is okay. Alize is not. And DeMar DeRozan is obviously not a shooter. So there is one good shooter, one passable shooter in that entire lineup. And not only that, there is not a single guy who is a threat rolling to the basket and as a screener in this lineup. So it's essentially DeMar DeRozan is the lone offensive threat. He's the only one that can really do anything, and they did do the lineup a little bit different where they put Lonzo in there for a bit, they put Ayo in the game for a little bit, but the fact that they went with this lineup was very concerning to me. Now, the odds are this lineup will likely have Kobe White in it when he returns from injury. And, I feel weird saying this, being that I've been the anti-Kobe White guy so much. I actually think he could be good for the Bulls this year because I think the role suits him very well. Because he's just expected to be an off-ball scorer, and I think that's his greatest skill. But even then, the offense would not be good enough. And the fact that they went to this lineup, they had a lineup in there for a while that was just Lonzo and other stuff. And it was like, why is this? Why would you run your rotation this way? Why would you not opt to have either Lonzo or DeRozan in the game all the time, and then either Vucevic or Levine in the game all the time? So the worst case you're doing is you have 2 of those 4 players on the floor at all times. It's not hard to make your rotation that way. You balance and stagger the minutes in such a way but rather it's just a DeRozan one-man show for a long stretch of the game. I don't understand that rotation at all, and Billy Donovan, that's real fucking questionable. I mentioned this in my preseason reactions to the Bulls. It is... Why would you not... Okay. They need to run the lineup of DeRozan and Vucevic, and then Lonzo and Zach. Those should be the way the minutes are staggered, because Lonzo and Zach allow Zach to do off-ball work, and then DeRozan and Vucevic play off of each other really well. Now, I understand the two-man game between Zach and Vucevic is very good, but I also think just for the sake of overall balancing the offense, that's the best way to go, and then you can try and do that two-game man as two-man game, two-game man, as much as possible with those two. But yeah, I just did not care for the rotations, and it was that on top of the fact that the offense was not good. The only reason the Bulls won this game, the only reason, is Zach LaVine. That's how it is with most Bulls games. And, you know, as much as I want to sit here and praise, like, hey, Zach LaVine had 34 points on 65% from the field, 11 for 11 from the free throw line, I also can't, because I'm tired of this pattern. That's the thing, right? Because the Bulls have had this pattern ever since Zach LaVine has been on the team, other than like the 15 or so games he played after returning from ACL injury, and then he was a free agent, and it was weird because no one knew how actually good he was. But regardless, this has been the case with the Bulls for the past couple of years, is anytime they win, it's because Zach LaVine was great and everybody else wasn't particularly great. This game, Zach LaVine was great. Lonzo was fine. Alex Caruso was good, especially defensively. He made so many, like, very pivotal plays. And Patrick Williams was fine. But Vucevic was bad, and DeRozan was not good for most of it, and in particular in ways that affected the momentum of the game. So I don't love this. It's very concerning. Of course, I'm not going to read into it too much because it's one game, but there were things that were concerning. On a positive note, the one thing that I will say in a positive direction, outside of the rotation, the missing shots thing really, this felt like a good team struggling and not a bad team being a bad team. And I know that's arbitrary and hard to really articulate what that means, but just essentially this looked like a good team that was playing like a bad team. Meanwhile, the Bulls for the past couple of years have been a bad team that would sometimes play like a good team enough to give me hope and then crush it the next game after. But this time around, it genuinely did look like the Bulls were good. Things just weren't working. Like the offensive flow, it could have been better, but like for the most part, I think there was a good flow to the offense. It was consistently creating good open shots. They just weren't dropping, and you know, you hope next time around and for the foreseeable future, those shots typically go in more than they don't. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Bulls side of things. To real quick talk about the Pistons, although I'm not going to talk about them nearly in depth as I did the Bulls, and that's how it is I'm always going to just have a million different notes with the Bulls, and then every other team I have notes, but it's not as in-depth because I'm not as invested in their team being good. But on the Detroit Pistons side of things, Jeremy Grant had himself a game. Isaiah Stewart had a game that, like, if you look at the box score, it would not imply that it was anything all that crazy. However, he kind of bitched Vucevic on a lot of possessions. Played fantastic defense against him in the post. A couple of plays where he beat him hustling. A couple of plays in the paint. He had one like left-hand hook that he put over the top of Vucevic as he was falling down, and that one dropped. So fantastic game from him. Saddiq Bey was probably the most interesting player from this game because he really tried to expand upon his offensive game. And I imagine this is a trend we're going to see. Is he's going to go for it more often. I think in this game, he was doing a lot of stuff off of the ball, couple of pull-up shots from three, from mid-range, drives to the rim, and it was hit or miss. There was some that worked. There was a mid-range pull-up, a three-point pull-up, a couple of takes off of the dribble to the rim, but for the most part, it was okay. I just think, you know, it's something that you don't want him to do it too much to where it comes to the detriment of your team, but it's also something that I think Sadiq will have the ability to do in the long term, and you want to give him those in-game reps to actually try things. And in this game, he was trying things. He had I forgot, I just remembered it. He had a very fucking nice Euro step. That was the key drive that he had. It was a very nice Euro step. So that's my thoughts on their side of things. They actually had a lot of open three-pointers. The Bulls' defense overall, on another positive note, I would say was good, although I can't give too much praise to it because it was just, it's the Pistons, even without Cade Cunningham. I don't know what their offensive rating was last year, but I can't imagine it was particularly good. This is not a hard team to defend, and I'm not going to give them too much credit for defending them as well as they did. But even then, the Pistons also missed a lot of wide open shots from three. Corey Joseph had a couple of open threes. He went 1 for 4. Isaiah Stewart had a wide open 3. Frank Jackson had some open ones. He did get blocked by Zach LaVine on one of them. Sadiq Bey had a few. Sadiq Bey did not hit a pull-up 3-point shot. I guess he took one, and I thought he made it, but he did not. And Kelly Olynyk had a couple of open threes, 2 of which Vucevic just completely fell asleep and left him wide open. One of those threes was like a pull-up towards the end of the fourth quarter, but it was like a wide open shot. So it was like, pay attention, Vucevic. But yeah, that is my thoughts on this game pretty much. Hamidou Diallo had a crazy fucking finish for an and one, so that's something. But yeah, I'm a little worried about the Bulls, but also not going to read into it too much as it is one game. So yeah, that is it. Goodbye.